The Orlando Magic surprised the NBA last year when they won 42 games and got into the playoffs as the 7th seed in the East. And their one playoff win against Toronto has been the franchise's biggest accomplishment since drafting Victor Oladipo, who's blossomed into an NBA All-Star. Wait, they traded Oladipo? And Sabonis? When did this happen? Who did they get in return? Oh, okay, they got Ibaka. Who did they get for Ibaka? Oh my, no. Okay, you know what? The past is the past, right? Let's focus on right now. So despite the fact that they give Vucevic $100 million, and despite the fact that Aaron Gordon is shooting like Draymond Green, the Orlando Magic still find themselves 8-11. So in this video, we're gonna talk about some trades that the Orlando Magic could make to improve their team. Now, before we hand out treatment, we must first make the diagnosis. What's wrong with the Orlando Magic? Well, the problem with the Orlando Magic is not their defense. Currently, they have a top 10 defense in the league, led by Jonathan Isaac, who's quietly leading the NBA in blocks at 2.8 per game, and they don't even play him at center. Isaac, by the way, is already the Magic's best all-around player. No, the problem with the Magic is their offense. Now, exactly how bad is their offense? How about dead last in the league in offensive efficiency? How about an offense worse than the New York Knicks, who play Bobby Portis at small forward? Evan Fournier is, to his credit, having a good start to the season, but he's their leading scorer and pick and roll ball handler. This was a big problem last year when in crunch time, their offense completely collapsed because they're trying to post up Vucevic when the entire league is shifting away from that type of play for a good reason. Did I mention they give this dude $100 million? Okay, so whatever. It's clear. The Magic need offense. They need anyone who can score. They're desperate. They're desperate enough to sign Jamal Crawford, right? I mean, Crawford shot 39% from the field last year, but that's better than half the guys in the rotation. So, why not? Okay, let's get into the trades. The first trade I'm proposing is the biggest one. This is the blockbuster trade. Aaron Gordon and DJ Augustine and a first-round pick to Golden State for D'Angelo Russell. I never believed that Russell was in Golden State's long-term plans. I still don't. I think it's way too obvious that he and Steph together is a bad fit. It's redundant skill sets, overlapping weaknesses. For the amount of money Russell is making, Golden State could get other types of players that make them much better when Steph, Clay, and Dre are healthy. DJ Augustine in this trade is just an expiring contract to match salaries. Aaron Gordon is really the main piece. Positionally, he fits in better, right? Golden State could play Gordon at the 4 and Draymond at the 5 in their small ball closing lineups. I never thought Aaron Gordon was a great offensive player. I mean, part of the reason is because he insists on playing small forward when in today's league, he should really be playing the 4. But quietly, he's been a very good and consistent defender in Orlando these past couple seasons. And Golden State needs his defense way more than they need Russell's offense. So in this trade, Golden State gets a cheaper player that fits in better, and Orlando gets the best playmaker on the market that has yet to hit his prime. The next trade I'm going to propose, I actually think is more likely to happen. It's Aaron Gordon and Mo Bamba for DeMar DeRozan and a first-round pick. So this is more realistic than the Russell trade because unlike D'Angelo Russell, there are absolutely no suitors for DeMar DeRozan, giving Orlando a lot of leverage in this trade. I made this point on Twitter a few days ago when DeRozan trade rumors began popping up. People talk about what if DeRozan returns to Toronto and how that's not a really great fit and that would kind of mess with Toronto's chemistry. Look, DeRozan is never going to make a good offense great, which is why he doesn't fit in a team like Toronto, but he can make a terrible offense league average-ish. DeRozan has trouble fitting in with a lot of modern NBA systems, but if you're Orlando, whatever system you have sucks anyways. Might as well toss the whole thing out the window if you get DeRozan. At least now, you got someone who can create his own shot, who gives you by himself some version of crunch time offense. For the Spurs, they got to make some changes if they still want to make the playoffs, right? I mean, they're having a terrible start to the season. As far as Mo Bamba, I don't know how much Orlando likes Mo Bamba. Here's how I look at it. Vucevic is going to be on this team for the next 4 years. He's your starting center. He's going to play 30 minutes a game. So the other 18 minutes at center, you already got Khem Birch, a pretty good backup. Bamba is just never going to get enough playing time in Orlando to develop. But San Antonio might still want him. They have some open minutes at the center position. I think they'd be willing to give up a first-round pick for Gordon and Bamba. The third trade idea I have, Al-Farouq Aminu and a second-round pick for E'Twaun Moore. Now this is assuming Aminu comes back healthy from his knee injury. I've always liked E'Twaun Moore as a player, really good shooter, gives you some playmaking, solid defender. Pelicans at this point are selling, and their guard rotation is really focused on Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball, and Josh Hart. Aminu is actually more of a position of need for them. I like the idea of Aminu playing alongside Brandon Ingram and having those two as your two forwards. Aminu can guard most of the bigger players at the forward position, unlike Brandon Ingram. So this is a relatively small trade that I think could be good for both teams, and it's easy to pull off because it's just a 1-for-1 trade. The fourth trade I have is Aaron Gordon for Danilo Gallinari and a first-round pick. So if you're OKC, you got 5 first-round picks from the Paul George trade alone. You got another one from Houston. I'd go to the Magic and I say, okay, I got 6 first-round picks here. Pick one that you think is most likely to be good and ask for this trade. For the Magic, Gallinari at this point is just a much better offensive player than Gordon. They desperately need his shooting. The Magic have another problem where they don't have anyone who can get to the line, and Gallinari can definitely help with that. Gallinari is also an expiring contract, giving the Magic some cap space next summer. Otherwise, the Magic have no cap space to improve this team, which is also a bit of a problem when you're stuck in no man's land. Beyond that, it's not easy thinking of trades for the Orlando Magic that would make sense for both teams. And trust me, I've spent way too many hours on the trade machine just trying to piece things together. Look, I mean, let me explain it, right? This is the Magic situation currently when you're talking about trading. So if you're the Magic, you're keeping Jonathan Isaac no matter what. He's the untouchable player on your team. He's the only future you got. Marco Fultz has been okay. He's not as good as most people think. He's just had some highlight plays this season that make it seem like he's coming back into his own. He still can't shoot. He hasn't shown me enough for me to think he can be an all-star. And while Fultz has some value on the market, there are very few teams in the league that really have the space and the context to get someone like Marco Fultz, who's going to be a long-term project. So no, he's not going to get traded. Nobody in the league wants Nikola Vucevic's contract. He's untradeable. Terrence Ross has 4 years left on his contract. He makes $13 million a year. He hasn't improved his game at all in the last 3 years, and this season he looks like he's regressing. He's untradeable. So there's reason why these trades involve the same players, because the Magic just don't have a lot of tradable assets at this point. In fact, the fifth trade I'm going to propose makes this list because of how desperate I think Orlando's situation should be. All right, here's the fifth trade that I'm proposing. Michael Carter-Williams and a second-round pick for, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Isaiah Thomas. What do you want me to say? Yeah, Isaiah Thomas is 30. He's a complete liability on defense. He spends more time on Twitter than on the basketball court, but he also shoots 40% from 3, and he's a good pick-and-roll player. You need something, man. You need something on offense. Even if it means sacrificing a bit of defense, you need something on offense. You can't be worse than the Knicks. All right, that's the bottom line in the NBA. That's the bottom line to life. However bad you are, you cannot be worse than the Knicks. I've also given some thought to the idea, well, maybe the Magic just don't have the right coach. Could Steve Clifford be the problem? You could argue that. If you remember, Steve Clifford used to be the head coach for the then Charlotte Bobcats, and those Charlotte teams, even when they made the playoffs, were never a great offensive team. It was always because of their defense. But the catch was that they had Kemba Walker. There's no Kemba Walker on this team. I don't think the problem is Steve Clifford, even though he's clearly a defense-first coach. I think even if Steve Kerr or Quinn Snyder or Kenny Atkinson or some, forward-thinking offensive coach this Orlando team, it would still be a bottom 10, bottom 5 offense. There's just not enough talent, and there's too much positional overlap. Okay, because I spent so much time on the trade machine, I'm gonna toss in an extra trade idea that I have that doesn't make sense for the Orlando Magic this season because it doesn't make them better this season, but I think could still make sense for both teams in a long term. So I would think about Aaron Gordon to the Hawks for Allen Crabbe and 2 first-round picks. Now, if you think 2 first-round picks is a little bit too much, okay, put some lottery protection on them, whatever. But I like the general idea of this trade, right? If you're Atlanta, you're going to have more cap space next summer than you know what to do with. Aaron Gordon could be worth taking a chance on. For Orlando, you get 2 picks, or maybe 1 good pick, and you get Allen Crabbe, who this season could give you maybe something as a shooter, but more importantly, his contract expires. He frees up almost $20 million in cap space for you. Now, I don't think a trade like this is getting done because it's too much of a risk for both teams, and I don't think either fan base would be particularly excited about this trade, but it's just a thought for me. Now, unlike the Orlando Magic franchise, who you just cannot trust, you can trust NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. So what does a VPN do? Well, a lot of things, but mainly for me, it protects your internet privacy and it allows you to access content that is only available in other countries. So for a more practical example, there are some Netflix shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a couple other things that are only accessible in countries outside the US. Now with a VPN, you can simply click on a server in another country and access the internet that way, giving you access to this content that would otherwise be unavailable. You can go to nordvpn.com/mdj to learn more about what they do. Currently, they have a special holiday offer, which is 81% off a 3-year plan. And on top of that, they'll give you 4 extra months free, and they'll give you a NordVPN password manager that is worth about $200 in value. So again, you can go to nordvpn.com/mdj to learn more about what they have to offer and to learn more about what they can do for your internet freedom and security. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.